We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
Please go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Libsyn or any pod catchers, like our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking Podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Tuesday evening at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. We would like to thank our sponsor, Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, soon to be coming back to downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for letting us use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Anton Fig
of the Paul Schaefer's Most Dangerous Band in the World,
Ace Frehley and Kiss,
Joe Bonamassa, Cyndi Lauper. Yeah. So what a great interview he was.
Yeah, it was fun. We went through his 2002 solo album Figments and talked about quite a few tracks on there.
Yeah, we kind of broke that album down. If you're not familiar with Figments, it's a more of a world music type based album. Very good. Many special guests, including Ace Frehley, Sebastian
Brian
Bach,
Wilson of Beach Boys.
Yeah, Richie Havens. So
Blondie Chaplin.
Yeah, just a long list of famous artists.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and here's the interview.
Good night.
Night.
Anton, welcome to the Nothing Shocking Podcast. I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Anton, it's a great honor to talk to you tonight.
Good to talk to you as well.
Well, fantastic. We would like to thank you for your correspondence and willing to do this.
Well, thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So let's get right in. Let's get right into this. COVID-19 lockdown has crippled artists and the arts. You have been working on remotely recording for other artists. Can you talk a little bit more about the remote recording process right now during your COVID-19 lockdown?
Yeah, well, I was on the road with Joe Bonamassa, and in March we were in Minneapolis, and we got pulled off the road, and so I came home, and I got a little studio at home with the Pro Tools and all that, and so I can do recordings for people. A friend of mine asked me to do a little movie score, and so I did a movie score for him, and then another friend asked me to do some drum tracks, and just sort of went from there, and I started to do quite a bit of work. I actually found the whole COVID time to be, I tried to make the most out of it. I got time to spend in my studio. I'd been on the road for so long. I got time to spend in the studio and really fine-tune it. And, I kind of wish, like, when I was growing up and doing lots of sessions in New York, that I'd paid more attention to how the engineers were recording and all that stuff. But anyway, I had to give myself a crash course on everything. And I could just sort of come down every morning and just really fine-tune the stuff. And now I'm, like, really confident about doing really good tracks and sending tracks to people. And, it's been, I do it all over the world. I just did a thing. Joe needed something. The producer in Australia emailed me, and I just sent a bunch of files down there. It's amazing how you can work now. And, it's been like that for a while. And basically, if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it anyway. Mm-hmm. So you have to do it. It's part of the new world. But the whole, and I have been doing it for years and years, but I never had the opportunity to really sit down and really fine-tune it and hone in and leisurely take my time over the process. So kind of been rewarding in that way. If you're talking about making lemonade out of lemons, or whatever the phrase is.
Fantastic. Good, Jeff.
Yeah. So you talked about making a film score. Have you done that before? And what's the difference between writing for a film score versus an album?
Well, an album, I've done a little bit of it. And this film score was a short film. It wasn't like a big Hollywood production. But, the difference is an album is a collection of songs. And each song might be, 3 to 5, 6 minutes or whatever. And then the body of the songs have to fit together as a coherent package. In the movie, you are more kind of like supporting the what's happening, and you kind of highlighting the action or the inaction, and so it's almost like sometimes you come out of a movie and you're not even aware of hearing the music, but it's done all kinds of worked on your emotions in a certain kind of a way. So you have to not necessarily draw someone's attention to it, but you've also got to make it really good at the same time. It's a bit like drumming. Sometimes with drumming, you don't want people to really notice the drums so much. I used to play with Paul Butterfield. Mm-hmm. I did his last record before he passed away, and he would say, when you play a song, and this was like a blues record, you play a song, you just kind of play the same, play what you're playing, but you stay in the background. At some point towards the end of the song or in the appropriate spot, we absolutely have to say something. You kind of burst out, you say your thing, and then you go back into the track again. And it's almost like, you don't want to say, here I am, but you just want to be there supporting the track. So, it's a big part of the way that one can play music and approach a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
With today's technology making recording so efficient, do you have a preference? Do you miss working and collaborating in a studio with other artists, or do you have that a special appeal for being able to work in one's home and Dropboxing and sending files out and not having to actually have to collaborate with individuals person to person?
Well, in the old days when I grew up recording, it was on tape, and so a tape was a lot more cumbersome to edit than the digital stuff. So you used to have to get a take, pretty much there was very minimal editing between takes. I mean, there'd be a little bit. You'd take a chorus from here and, a verse from there. But in these days, you can slice up a beat and take it from a certain spot or two, Mm-hmm. So it's very different. But I'm glad that I grew up doing it like the old-fashioned way. And I mean, if you listen to the record, say, of like Frank Sinatra or something, he would do like one take with the whole orchestra. And I mean, can you imagine being like the second trumpet player and you make a mistake on a high note or something, and you ruin the take for everybody? So, we sort of grew up where you had to get it right all in the studio. So nowadays it's a lot easier. You can just do a bunch of takes, and then the producer can just assemble it all afterwards. And so it's the same kind of when you're recording at home. It's like I'm given the tracks, so that's what's given, and then I can just sort of try different things, and mix and match, and sort of craft it and make it, massage it and make it really nice so that I can send something really cohesive back. So it's a completely different process, and a lot of it depends on the kind of music that you're playing. There's certain kinds of music where you, like something on a more jazzy side, where you would have to have immediate reaction from other people about what you're playing. Mm-hmm. And, so one of the tricks when you do it by yourself is to make your part kind of do that. I try and play with the tape, the tracks that I'm given, and make it sound like I'm in the room at the same time. But it's a sort of more crafted process. where, some music just wouldn't work, just layering it one at a time. You need the whole band just to play together. And obviously there's a certain kind of chemistry that you get when everybody plays at the same time. But I think that music, the way music is done today, there's a lot of it is done, it's layered, done piece by piece. So it's easier to get away with it. And so answer to your question, what do I prefer more? It just depends on the group of people and the kind of music that I'm playing. Obviously, it's really fun to play with everybody in the room. That's kind of how music's always been made. But there's ways of doing it so that you can, I'll tell you something, in a way it's harder to do when you're just by yourself because you don't have the feedback of other people to kind of guide it so that it's all in the direction where everyone wants to go.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You've been drumming for a number of years now. Do you still have to practice a lot, or you just do with your eyes closed?
I can do it with my eyes closed, but that doesn't mean I don't have to practice.
Yeah.
One of the things I like doing it with Letterman, on the Letterman show, you could never close your eyes because you never knew when the song was going to end. And, I had to be watching Dave or watching Paul for cues. When you're playing live now, when I'm doing a long show with Joe or something, or a live show, you can kind of get lost in the music in a different kind of a way. So, but what I've done in this whole COVID time, obviously I haven't been playing as much as I normally would, and there's no substitute for road chops to really get your hands good. But I have been practicing, and basically I've been working on trying to get my hands work more efficiently with the least amount of resistance, so that it's super relaxed. And I did have some formal training, but I never got to learn what I really wanted to learn about exactly how you hold the sticks and studying certain kinds of technical aspects of the drums. I was just self-taught. So I've spent a lot of the time just kind of sitting there and trying to get my hands to work properly. And we'll see when we break out of this thing and go back to playing live and all that. We'll see if it works or not.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great prelude to the next question is, how do you envision the music industry evolving once COVID-19 has been lifted? As far as example, performing live, ticket sales, and, the public's demand for live shows. Do you see this maybe kind of pushing the music business in a positive direction when this has all been, the pandemic has been lifted?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I know like the Joe Bonamassa model has been like getting people to the shows. It's all about the live thing, although he makes lots of records and stuff, but it's about the live show. But, obviously it can't be until it's like everyone is safely vaccinated. And it's sort of, barring any kind of bizarre mutation or some other virus, in a certain amount of time, it'll be back to where people will be able to kind of do it safely. I think that people will be hungry to go out and hear live stuff again. I mean, I think some things might change. Like if you take, people have probably gotten used to watching movies, not in a movie theater, and it was kind of going in that direction anyway. So maybe that would take a hit. I think that live music, though, just my opinion, I think, there's always been a hunger for it. And I think people will want to go. I think people, we humans are social animals. And I think that people will want to coalesce around something and enjoy something as a big group together. So I think it will come back, but it may take quite a bit of time still.
Yeah.
Let's get on to our favorite subject that we wanted to talk to you about tonight is Figments. In 2002, you completed your first solo album, Figments. You produced and co-wrote it. And how long did this process take for you to complete this album in between of all the things that you were doing during that time as far as Letterman and everything else? Can you kind of give us the story of how this all was created?
Yeah, I was doing Letterman and a lot of sessions at that time. I'd done a bunch of writing. I was into writing. And so I had a few songs kind of saved up. And I'd always said to myself, when the when the home studio becomes digital, I'm going to do a project. And so, then Pro Tools and all that became possible because it was prohibitive to go in the studio. You needed record company money to go in. And so I started to do the tracks, which was basically just me. It took me about 3 years to do because when you're doing the whole thing yourself, if you're not a band, if you don't work on it, like everything stops. It's not like you do your drum tracks and then the guitarist goes in and does all his stuff, the overdubs and the solos. It's like if I didn't work on it, the thing stopped, and I had to just keep forcing myself to keep on doing it. And because my whole life had been about listening to different kinds of music on Letterman, I had to play lots of different kinds of music. That on this record, I kind of wanted to do all different kinds of things, but it would still be under like my writing and producing, and that would give it the cohesive quality. And fortunately, over the years, I'd met and played with a lot of great people, so I was able to just call them up and ask them to be on the record. Like everyone that's on the record is people I've played with before.
Yeah.
Except I'd never played with Brian Wilson before, but I had a friend, a connection to him. And actually on that particular song, Blondie Chaplin, it was a song I'd written with Blondie Chaplin, and he'd sung the original Sail on Sailor with the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, it would be great to have Blondie and get Brian to sing on it as well. And so I was able to get Brian. I flew out to California to this. I remember I went to the studio, and they had remixed Pet Sounds there. And the guy showed me the tapes of God Only Knows, like the original 8-track tapes. And Brian came, and I worked with him, and he was crazy. He was saying to me, like, sing me the line you want me to sing. And so I'm singing in the line, and I'm going like, what? This is crazy. I'm like singing it to Brian Wilson. And
That's awesome.
and then he said, you want 4-part harmony or 5-part harmony? And I thought, well, I don't want to be greedy, Okay, 4-part will be great.
Yeah.
And he started to like harmonize it, and then like in the middle of the harmony, he just did some weird kind of chromatic thing that just gave it like that, Brian Wilson magic. And it was a beautiful, just beautiful. And so I actually took it at the end of the CD of the album. At the very, very end, after the record's over, you hear the Brian section just by itself without the song. And it's just amazing. It's like the heavens opening up. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I picked up on that. I wrote that down to ask you about that hidden track.
Yeah.
Now that we're kind of moving away from CDs and into the digital age, we're kind of, the hidden tracks are a little bit of a lost art.
Yeah, I think there might still be. It still might be there though. At the end of the last song, if you just wait long enough, I think it's still there.
Yeah, I liked that the harmonies and the chorus sound. It was pretty cool. I recognized it right away.
Yeah.
Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
As you recorded Figments, you brought in the likes of Richie Havens, like you said, Brian Wilson, Ace Frehley, Sebastian Bach, just to name a few. And can you talk a little bit more about the collaboration with those artists and the recruitment of the artists? How did it kind of go in hand as far as recruiting them to come in to record, and then once you got them, how did the collaboration go?
Well, the song with Ace, I'd written the song, and I demoed it up and that, and so I recorded it pretty much. I got, I'd done the drums, the guitar, and I had the song. I might have even had a kind of rough vocal. And Ace was on the road. I think he might have been with Kiss at that time. I'm not sure when he went back with them. Mm-hmm. But he was on the road, and I asked him if he would play the solo. And he came into my studio one night and put down a bunch of solos, which I then just kind of comped together and made the version that I wanted. So that's how he was. But Ace, I'd done a million, I don't know how many records I'd done with him. And so I was, really good friends with him. So it was really easy to get him. When I was also in Frehley's Comet was Richie Scarlett. and Richie played bass, and I thought, wow, that would be great to get Richie on this. I wanted to have the right combination, for each song. So Richie came over one day, and I mean, I'd constructed the song, so they were playing to a lot of the stuff that was there. Everything was put on separately on that record, even though I don't think it sounds like that, but I kind of had to layer every song in.
Mm-hmm.
And basically my goal was that you could follow any particular instrument in the song, and it would take you on a journey, as well as the song as a whole.
Yeah.
So I got Richie in, and he played on it, and then a couple of the nights when I was over at Ace's place, maybe months and months before, Sebastian Bach would come around, and we would play together, and then Sebastian asked me to play on one of his records. I think it was Sebastian Bach and Friends. So I played on that record, and then I just called him up and asked him to come and sing on the song. And so he came over. Where did we do? We did him in a studio, Dubway Studios in New York. And he came and sang on the song. And then I just kind of put it all together. And that was it. That was pretty much how all the songs came together. Was I wrote them or co-wrote them. I put down enough of a version to play to, and basically crafted the overdub according to what was there. So, like if the bass went on with the drums, I made the bass really fit with the drums. Try to get the vocals on, and if I added other parts, I would craft it around what was already there, so that it sounds really organic and people aren't stepping on each other's toes. And it's a fun way to work, but it's painstaking, and it takes quite a long time.
Yeah.
As opposed to just going in a room with a band and just, belting the song out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the song, I think, 3/4 Folk. I liked that one a lot. I think it had a neat world sound to it.
Right, so that was a song that I wrote, an instrumental song that I wrote myself. I put down a version, and it always reminded me kind of like a Zamanol weather report-ish kind of thing. And like when Zamanol did like a lot of world music, and not that I'm saying I'm anything like that or as good as that, but it just was my tribute to that kind of a sound. And one of the things that in those kind of Zamanol compositions was that instead of being like verse chorus, bridge solo, verse chorus out, they would do like A section, B section, C section, so that sections didn't repeat that much. They just kept moving on to another section. And I try to write the song in that kind of a way. It just keeps going in one direction. And so I got Richard Boner, who's a fantastic bass player who used to play with Zamanol. I got him to play bass, and then I had been recording at in the studio, and I met this guy, Amit Chatterjee, who's a fantastic Indian player, and he also played with Zamanol. And so I got him to play on the record as well. And I got Richard to sing, and I got Amit to sing, and I kind of intertwined the voices together. None of them are like singing real words. They're all just singing phonetically.
Okay.
But I try to make like Richard, it sounds like he's singing something in a foreign language, but it's nothing. He's just making it up.
Oh, cool.
And so I made the voices kind of, but like a lot of the songs are just like manufactured in the studio. I had them play, and all the playing's real, but then the way that I edited it and chopped things up made it, I found that to be like a really creative way of working for me.
Nice.
Most certainly, yeah. Figments gave fans and listeners a broad musical landscape. As far as the creation of it on your end of things, and you kind of answered this question, but I'm kind of wording it differently. But the goal was to push out as much different influences upon you out in different song, and to make maybe the album as broad of a spectrum as you possibly could. Was that kind of the methodology and thought process?
It wasn't really. It just ended up being broad. I just did like the best songs that I'd gathered together.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to write quite a bit, but I'm not a prolific writer, and I need to write with other people. I've written only a few songs completely on my own. I mean, there's a couple on the record, but just most of them are like collaborations. And so it just kind of ended up that way. But where it became like a lot of different kinds of people was because I was into lots of different styles. But it wasn't like, let me have a whole lot, like here's something for everybody and hope that it sticks or something like that. You know, the other problem was it was released at a time when people weren't used to buying on the internet yet. That was just kind of starting.
Very true.
Yeah.
And also, it was one of the earlier records that had like lots of guests. You know, now the tons of records have millions of guests. They didn't have that many when, you know, the early 2000.
Very true.
But anyways, I like to think it was a little ahead of its time in many ways. But, you know, it's just a record. It's, you know, but I like it. I'm still proud of it.
Oh, so much so. And my favorite track on the album is When the Good Die Young, which featuring Chip Taylor on vocals. That being said, it gives you more of like a world music sound. Can you give us a little bit of a story behind that track, or is there?
Yeah, well,
talk a little bit more about
it. For people that don't know, Chip Taylor is the guy that wrote Wild Thing and Angel of the Morning, and he's a very prolific writer. And so, like going back many years, I used to do Ace's demos at a place called North Lake Studios in White Plains, and Chip, I think, might have been a part owner of the studio. But anyway, I met him up there, and I did a lot of recording with him. I did a bunch of his records, and we kind of stayed in touch, and I would send him tracks, and he would kind of put some words on top. And so we did probably maybe 5 songs together like that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I did a lot of recording with him, and we were good friends. And I wanted to include that one song on the record. So, you know, it went through the same process. I put down what I could, put down the drums and that, and then fleshed it out with different musicians playing on it. And Chip came over and sang on it. But it's a beautiful, beautiful song.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a star next to that.
And Chip's around. They're doing records. He's got his labels, Trainwreck Records, I think. And he's still doing stuff. And in fact, we were in touch, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, saying, you know, we've got to get together at some point.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Have you ever thought of doing a follow-up to this album?
I have, but, well, you know, I got like, once Letterman was over and I went on the road, I was on the road with Joe for like 5 years after that. It just like seemed impossible. The thing is the material. You got to have the songs. And I just don't feel like I have an album's worth of songs. So at the moment, no. You know, I love working on stuff. I like producing stuff. But for me to do another solo record, you know, I need to have the right songs. So, but as soon as I have them, or, you know, then maybe I would consider doing that.
Oh, fantastic. All right, now...
Yeah, thanks.
This is where we're going to make you put your thinking cap on, because remember I emailed you about some tough questions we're going to ask you, so we're going to make you really think. Are you ready?
Well, I can tell you this. My memory's bad, but I'll give it a try.
Yeah. All right, so 1988-89, you teamed up with Richie Scarlett, John Reagan, Ace Frehley for Trouble Walkin'. It's my favorite Ace Frehley album of all time, by far. Hide Your Heart, the track Hide Your Heart, was recorded for this album. It was also recorded the same year for Hot in the Shade, Kisses Hot in the Shade. And what is the story behind that actual track? How was it possible that Ace was able to release it on Trouble Walkin', and then Kiss was able to turn around and release it the same year on Hot in the Shade? Do you know?
I'll give you the short answer.
Okay, go for it.
I have absolutely no idea.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know anything. I'll tell you what, I'll save you a lot of time. This is what I do remember about the record. We did the song Do You by either Electric Light Orchestra or the band that Jeff Lynne was in before that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a fantastic song. And we did a really, really great version of it. And that song I remember doing on the record. I know that we had Do You, which is fantastic. And But yeah, like those kind of stories. I just got to the studio and played. Let's see. Okay, I'm looking at some of the songs. Shot Full of Rock. I remember that was a demo that we did at Ace's place. I think Richie had a lot to do with that song. Richie Scarlett. 5-Card Stud. I kind of remember there was like a lot. I remember the drumming on that. Okay, let's look at here's Wikipedia. I can learn something now about the record. I've always really been interested in just playing. That's what I like to do. Okay, it says that Sandy Slavin played drums on Trouble Walking. I don't know if that's true. He might have played percussion. I don't know. I need to listen to it, and I think could have been me, but I'm not sure.
Well, anyway. I promised myself that when we have you on, we weren't going to ask you any Kiss questions at all. It was going to, but the Ace Frehley stuff I had to ask you because Trouble Walking is just
Ace is my favorite
Kiss. Great album.
Yeah, well, me too. I mean, let me tell you something. I had a band in the when was it, late 70s, that I formed with some other South Africans in New York called Siren, which became Spider. And when we were auditioning bass players, this guy came over and played, which we didn't end up using him, but he said to me, I've got this friend named, I've got this friend Ace Frehley, and he's looking for a drummer for his solo record. And, if you want to go up and play, I'll get you an audition. And he plays with Kiss. And I was like, when I grew up, I was heavily into rock, but when I came to America, I was heavily into jazz. So for about 5 years, that's all I listened to. And whatever happened to rock in that time, I didn't listen to. I wasn't aware of it all. So I wasn't really aware of Kiss at all. And I mean, I'd seen their poster on the side of a bus. And to me, Kiss was just like the band on the side of a bus. I knew nothing about it. And I went up and played with Ace. I realized that they were a big, huge band, but I didn't know much more about them other than they were big rock stars. And I went up to play with Ace, and I asked him if he was the lead guitarist or the rhythm guitarist, because I really had no idea. And I don't know if he was offended, because he didn't really talk to me much after that. But I did 4 songs with him, one of which was Rip It Out. And I can't remember what the other 3 were. And then he asked me to come and do like another 4 songs with him, which I did. And I mean, they were very quick, and we just did it. And then he said, a little later, he said, he wanted me to do the record. And I was on my way to do like a 5-week tour of Europe with Robert Gordon and Link Ray. So I went to Europe, and the day I came back, I went up to the Colgate Mansion, which is a big mansion up in Connecticut, and we kind of set up like in the stairwell of like this huge mansion. I was sitting on like the stairs would go up, and there'd be a landing, and then the stairs would go up more. And so I was on this landing section, and Ace was sitting next to me, and we pretty much recorded 3/4 of the record like that, just guitar and drums. And when we did Rip It Out, he said to me, I want you to play exactly what you played on the demo. And that was something I just played off the top of my head, so I had to like listen to it and kind of, replay it again. But that record really came out fantastically well. And it's a beautiful record, and it was one of the first records I did, when I started recording in America. And it was because of that. And then Ace and I became really good friends, and I would continue to play with him, and we'd hang out and be up at his house all the time and all that stuff. And it was because of that they asked me, I think when Dynasty came around, Peter had broken his arm, and they needed to get the record out on time. And so I got to play on Dynasty. And then after that was Unmasked, and I think they broke his other arm because I did that one as well. And so that's the whole Kiss thing. Yeah. And then, but don't ask me about the songs. No. But I do remember doing, I Was Made for Loving You. I remember doing that song. And I remember doing Hard Times, because Hard Times we did a demo up at North Lake Studios, the studio I told you about that Chip Taylor co-owned.
Yes.
And I remember doing Hard Times up there as the demo, which, came on the record. I'm not sure which record it's on. I think maybe Dynasty. Either Dynasty or Unmasked, but it's on one of them. And so, and then after that, I did an awful lot of stuff with Ace. I couldn't do the second side, the second record he did because I had Letterman and he wanted to have the touring band to, be on the record. So Jamie Oldacre, the late Jamie Oldacre, played on that one. But then I did like a bunch of records after that. And then afterwards, after that, it's just been like sporadic songs here and there on the more recent records.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Take it away.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you about Joe Bonamassa. You've mentioned him a couple times in the interview so far. Eric and I are both big Joe fans. The first album that I came into contact with Joe in his solo work was Dust Bowl. That opening track, Slow Train. That was
right.
It was pretty cool. How'd you come about working with Joe?
Well, I was friendly with this producer Kevin Shirley, who's done a lot of stuff. He's done like most of all of Joe's latest records, since probably 2006 or something. And I knew him in New York, and he asked me to do a record with Joe, and I actually couldn't do it. And Jason Bonham did that record, and then I did the next one, which I think was Slow Gin. And that was in 2006, and I did all the records, pretty much all the records since then. And they would fly me out. They did a lot of it in California. They would just fly me out to California for the weekend or something. I'd do a bunch of tracks. I'd fly back to New York and then come out the next weekend and finish the tracks and fly back because I had the Letterman show. And so it was really, very quick. And I started to work with Joe, and I started to feel like when Letterman ended that I would probably at some point be able to join up with Joe again. So, but by then I'd done a bunch of records with him already.
Nice.
Dust Bowl, I can't remember where the sessions started. I know they did some sessions in Nashville that I didn't do, maybe 3 songs. The rest of the songs we might have done, I'm not sure. We went to Greece twice and did the Black Rock record, and then I think some of the songs from there ended up on the Dust Bowl record as well. But that's been fun. But that came about through Kevin. Funnily enough, Joe and I had played together on a taping of something before I knew who he was, or he knew who I was, I think. And then towards the end, I already knew him, but I helped get him on the Letterman show to sit in with the band, which was cool.
Yeah.
But we've been playing together ever since, and they did something earlier this year out in Nashville, but I couldn't do it because of the virus. I didn't want to fly down there and stay in a hotel for a month, and do that. Right. So I missed out on that. But other than that, I've been with him for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. All right. I have one more question for you, and this is another thinking cap question.
Yeah.
And we'll be done bugging you for the night. So 1985-86, yourself, Adrian Blue, Rick Derringer, Nile Rodgers, and many other musicians worked with Cyndi Lauper in the True Colors album. Can you talk a little bit more about the creation of that album and the collaboration with all those other artists?
The short answer is no. I'll tell you what little tidbits I remember. The record before that, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
Yeah.
I did that whole record.
Yeah.
And they had me sit in the studio and just with a snare drum and bass drum and kind of hammer away like a drum machine, pretty much. There's one song, Money Changes Everything, where there's a full-on drum kit, but all the other stuff was just me putting the drums on by itself, and it's very drum machine-like. So I did that record, and it was a huge hit.
Yes.
And then Cyndi did the next record, and I can't remember. We might have done it at the power station, I think. And I recorded for about a week with her, and I think I recorded half the record, maybe 5 songs. again, I would have to consult Wikipedia to even look at which songs I'm on. I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty sure that the songs that Niall and Rick Derringer and all of them weren't on the songs that I played on. My guess would be it would be the band with Neil Jason and who was the other guitarist? Not Rick Derringer. There was another guitarist who also played on the first record.
Adrian Blue?
No, it wasn't Adrian Blue. I'm sure that I didn't do any sessions when they were there. And that might have been overdubs because I think Jimmy Braylow did a whole lot of drum programming after that. So it was like there was a live band on half the record, and then there was drum machine and other people. If there was drum machine in that, then it's likely that they would have put the people on separately. But I don't know the process. So all I can pretty much remember, I have a feeling we did a version of What's Going On with her. And is that on the record?
Yes.
Yeah, we did that. And I don't remember I'm trying to think. True Colors is a fantastic song. I'm not even sure if I don't know. I can't remember if I played on it or not. Are there even drums on that song? But I don't know.
I don't recall too many drums on that song. No.
Yeah, but it is it's a great song.
Yeah.
But that's all. I wish I could fill in more gaps for you guys, but those gaps they're not filled in for me either.
Yeah.
Well, hey.
Yeah.
We want to thank you for your time tonight. We kind of ran out of our allotted time here, but we want to thank you so much for your participation. Is there anything that we didn't cover for you so that you could plug or promote anything? Is there anything that we left off?
I don't think. As I said in one of the emails, just with the COVID stuff, and I don't really have anything new coming out, and I'm in a holding pattern like everyone else. Just waiting for this, waiting for the other side of this whole thing and trying to be as positive and make the best out of the time. Letterman always used to say, and he would be talking about people in prison. He would say, you do the time, don't let the time do you. And I sort of feel the same way about the virus, We just got to make the most out of it and make it work. Make it work for yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do. So,
well, fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, Jeff, he's our editing wizard here, and after he's done editing this, we should have this episode out and ready to go in about 2.5 weeks. And when it's ready, I will send you the link through email, and please share it wherever you can. We appreciate it.
Okay, good. Well, I enjoyed talking to you guys.
It was an honor to have you on the podcast. Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Thanks
a lot.
Bye-bye.
Okay, see you. Bye.
Bites their tongue and pays their bills instead.